videos.
Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to HalferLand Performance Videos. First off, I hope everybody had a great Christmas and New Year's. Things have been absolutely slammed here with the company, so I have had very little time to shoot any videos, and unfortunately I think that's going to be the trend moving forward. I'm still going to release as many as I can, try to be helpful and show you guys different ways on how to build Jseries motors or whatnot. So on that note, please, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell for any new videos, as they will be sporadic from time to time, but we'll do our best to get a video out every week or two. So in this video, I kind of want to review the progression in 2019. As many of you guys know, the company HalferLand Performance is brand new. Myself, working with Jseries motors, is not. I've been working with Jseries motors for over 10 years now, for over a decade. Started in 2008. So yeah, we're at 11 years right now. And I just kind of want to go over, like I said, the progression of the company and also my build in general. The Bertha, if you guys don't know, her name is Bertha, and that is my daily driver. Black on black, 6.6, 7th gen Accord, so it's a V6 6-speed. Quite a bit done to it, and I get a lot of people asking me questions on, you know, what is your mod list, blah blah blah. They tons of questions, you know, the basic, you know, what do you have done to your car. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna show you guys that. I'm gonna go over a general overview of everything I have done, and that's that. And something else I wanted to touch on in this video is what we have planned for 2020. And we have a lot of like exciting things coming up, guys. And if you guys don't know, follow our Instagram, which is HalferLand Performance, and you will see a lot of updates on via IG, because we update that in real time. It's way easier. As you know, rendering a video on YouTube takes a lot of time, but something that I have been promising for quite some time is going to be a forced induction kit or platform. And true to my word, as always guys, I'm going to show you what we have planned. Here it is, guys. This will be our first forced induction platform, and as you can see, it is a Pro Charger, which, if you guys don't know, it's a spinny boy, but it's a spinny boy that takes a belt. So it is obviously it's a supercharger, not a turbocharger, and the reason why I chose this platform over a turbocharger is simplicity. A lot of guys that are asking me for a turbo kit, I found not that they lack info, they just lack some experience in developing or assembling forced induction kits. And as you know, if you know anything about superchargers, they are way easier to assemble or install than a turbocharger kit. There's way less parts, but there's also drawbacks. As anything, there's pros and cons. The pros to a supercharger is simplicity, immediate response, usually cost is usually less, but the cons would be parasitic loss, because you're driving the supercharger off of the belt, which is attached to the crank, and when you do that, you have parasitic loss, because it takes the motor a certain amount of power to actually spin this, and thus you lose power. But obviously that power is gained back once the spinny boy gets going. Where a turbocharger, it takes all the wasted energy from your exhaust. So what would initially be being sent out the exhaust, a turbocharger reroutes that exhaust back into the turbo, which spins it up. So that's why I personally love turbochargers, but it's way more complicated. You have complete hot side, got oil return, oil feed, you got all kinds of other shit that goes with turbos. So I went ahead and I made a decision, and it's going to be our ProCharger kit will be the first to come out. It's going to be a few months, guys. I would say probably mid-year we'll have a kit, but I just got the ProCharger in hand, and I'm going to start mocking things up. So the ProCharger is just one of many things we have going, guys. Obviously, we still have our normal parts. We have our cams, all of our port and polish stuff. We got our ECUs for Honda compatible ECUs. What has really picked up is our tuning, guys. That has set me back quite a bit because I'm a one-man. I'm a one-man operation, so I tune everything, I build everything, I do all the customer service, I handle all the credit card transactions, any returns, any customer service, all that shit. And we're at the point, it's a weird middle ground where we're not quite big enough for me to hire somebody else on. But we're also at the point where I almost need to hire someone on from the growth. And for that, I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys have been tremendous. There's been a lot of backlash. We've ruffled a lot of feathers, which is obviously it's going to happen, guys. I don't agree with everyone, and they certainly don't agree with me. Moving forward, like I was saying, the ProCharger, the Supercharger kit is not the only part that is we have coming out. We still have all of our parts on our online store, and if you guys are interested in taking a look, go to Honda JSeriesEngine.com. I'm going to put it right here on the screen. It's going to be Honda JSeriesEngine.com, and you can go to the shop tab. We also have a Q&A section on there, guys, so click on the Q&A forum, and you guys can ask any questions you want, and it also allows other enthusiasts to answer the question for you. All right, so it's a great alternative to like a Facebook platform or forum, which, you know, a lot of times there's tons of hate, there's tons of trolls on there. We're going to go ahead, we're going to regulate, we're going to manage that Q&A forum. There's not going to be any hating or anything like that. If we see it happening, no matter what it is, we're going to cut that shit out immediately. All right, 100% ask a question. Even if it's a dumb question, guys, I would ask first, look it up. You know, there's a lot of good forums online like v6p.net, v6performance.net, and accuradesign.net, which touch on damn near everything you can want to know about these motors. So take a look there before asking. All right, but the reason I'm sitting here with this motor in frame, this would be the third engine we've had come in. There's the little pile of all of our motors. We got a J32 bear block here. This is another J35A7 that we have just in storage and inventory for any customer that wants to build it. This is going to be in my race car, which is back there. This is a J30A4 with a 6-speed transmission. As far as I know, the motor is locked up. Don't know why yet. Need to get in there and figure it out. Back there is a J35A3. That's a J35A1, and then we have two other parts blocks back there. So this is a J35A8. The customer somehow got a shitload of salt in the motor, guys. I mean, if you saw the pictures I did, it was apparent it was not a natural cause. Something happened, but that's neither here nor there. That's not any information that I want to be a part of. It's not my business. So getting into it, what he's done so far, I guess he had a machine shop clean up the heads, and as you can see, they're very, very clean. They look very nice. So he had the heads clean. Believe they were decked or resurfaced. Believe it said, the work order said it had a valve job on it, so basically valve lap. They lapped the valves, and I think that's it. So I was looking down at the clearances, and as far as I can see, it does not look like the valves were adjusted. So what happened was he was driving to work one day, car started misfiring. He lives pretty far from work, so he just kept on going, and then he gets back in the car, doesn't want to run, gets it towed home, sits for a few days, pulls the motor, ends up finding a shitload of salt. I mean, in the intake ports, in the gas tank, in the fuel lines, all that shit. He changed the fuel lines. He went through every step that he should, drained the tank, flushed it out, and then went to start the car, and it wouldn't start. So a lot of the times, guys, when there's a no start situation, there's going to be a few things you want to look at. One is going to be obviously fuel and spark. And then second would be, or third would be timing, crank sensors. See if it has any codes is the number one, because obviously, guys, the OBD2 is going to tell you if there's a miscommunication somewhat with the ECU or whatever it may be. Always start there. Always start with the code, guys. But mechanically wise, like I said, fuel, spark, he already did all that. He has brand new injectors, coil plugs. But anyways, from the photos that he showed me, there was about a 1/4 inch of salt buildup on the pistons. And if there was that much, I guarantee you some of that got down into the block, down into oil pan. And I'm pretty sure his bearings are probably shot. If they're not, it would be a miracle. And he told me just to run with it. If they look good, we're going to leave them. If not, we're going to replace them. But this motor only has 90,000 miles, guys. 90,000. So at 90,000, I would expect to see bearings be perfect. Once again, unless salt got into it. So that's going to be the third rebuild I have going on. And again, guys, that's why the videos have been so slow. Been doing motor rebuilds, obviously everything online, all the customer orders, customer service, and then obviously my other job, and then family, holidays. So I greatly appreciate you guys sticking here with me. Once again, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and the notification bell to be alerted to new videos. All right, now let's get to my daily driver and go over the mods. All right, guys, I guess we will go ahead and start on the exterior and work our way over to the motor eventually. So starting on the exterior, guys, just have new new black housing eBay headlights with HID kit. The hood is a VIS carbon fiber hood, which is dipped. It's not dipped. It's oh my god, what is the damn name called? Is it Plasti Dip? Yeah, it's Plasti Dip. So I went ahead and I Plasti dipped the hood and my own custom color, which I plan to get the whole car that color. Honestly, just haven't had time at this point, but it's my own custom color. I love it. It's like a light dark gray with a bunch of flake in it, so it's super cool. This grill, I believe, is an Inspire replica from a sedan. I had to do quite a bit of cutting to get it to fit, but I did. The front lip is a cheap eBay, I believe like a Mugen kit from the sedan. Once again, I had to do a shitload of trimming to get that to fit, and then it just has cheap little canards that aren't doing anything. It just gives it a cool different depth look. Moving on to the tires and rims, these are Enkei's RPF ones, as everybody, and I had really mixed feelings about that, because I know the weight is awesome for them. They're 17 by 9.5, I believe. Yeah, 17 by 9s, I believe, and the offset, I believe, is plus 22. So I got a killer deal on these. If you guys know about RPF ones, you know they range around $900 to $1,000. I got these for like $700, I want to say, so fucking super cheap, to the point that I thought they might have been knockoffs, but they're not. They are wrapped in my favorite tire to date, which is are the Achilles ATR Sport 2s. And guys, I've run everything from Mickey Thompson Street Comps, Continental Pro Contacts, Falcon, shit, I forgot what the Falcons were. I've ran Toyos, and by far the Achilles have, for me at least, they have the best traction and the best tread wear or lifespan. They don't wear out in 8,000 miles like the Mickey Thompsons did, which I absolutely hated. I was changing tires literally every couple months. So that's that. So they're the Achilles ATR Sports 2s, wrapped on the Enkei's RPF ones. And you can see I got the little bumper straps, or whatever the fuck they're called, the quick releases. You got our sticker right there, HalferLand Performance. Got a little sticker that nobody ever really notices. A few people do. Objects and mirrors are losing, which I think is just funny, so I put it on there. Moving on to the back, guys, I guess we'll do the exhaust. The exhaust is a Tessuto, which is like an eBay exhaust. It's a 2.5 inch all the way out, and I do have an additional resonator, so I'm running dual resonators, which would be a Vibrant Ultra Quiet. I do have a tow hitch mounted on there, and that was because I also ride motorcycles. If you guys don't know, you can check some of my old videos out. I have a few videos of me riding. I own a ZX10, a Kawasaki ZX10. It's a 06, and me and my buddy, we took the bikes. He had a 2014 Yamaha R1, I believe, and we took the bikes to the Tail of the Dragon. Excuse me. So we went ahead and I towed both of the bikes with this car, and it made it. It was a fucking champ. And that was when the J30 was in it, naturally aspirated, and the car still towed both the bikes with a big ass like 16 or 18 foot trailer. I mean, the car did phenomenal, guys. I love this car, and the power's only gone up since then. But moving forward, I have a carbon fiber Honda emblem, badge, whatever you want to call it. And then this is a custom lip I made. So there was a guy on V6P that was making these, and he still had all the molds for it. So I went ahead and I bought the molds from him, and I had a fiberglass guy make the wings for me, or the lips, the trunk lip. And being that I don't work with fiberglass, and I ended up making, I think, like 20 or so of them, made my money back, got my lip basically for free, and now I still have the mold, haven't done a damn thing with it. If anybody's interested in replicating these or making them, let me know, hit me up. Our email is HalferLand@gmail.com. Once again, HalferLand@gmail.com. And I still have the mold, so you guys can buy it and start making your own lips. All right, moving a little further up. Just have a quick little eBay window roof lip thing. I don't know what they fucking call it. All right, rotors are just a cross drilled and slotted. I believe it was like ATLP. No, it was like Atlanta. I forgot the brand. It was just off of eBay, cross drilled and slotted. And this is like the second set I've had, guys. Never had an issue. As long as you bed them in properly, you seat the pads and everything to them, and you do the break-in cycle, guys, I've never had an issue with these. Never. So I stick to them, and I'll keep running them. When they wear out, I'll get another set. Moving into the car, as you can see, she is black on black with the carbon fiber trim stock. All leather. Whenever I bought her, I have my diamond plate, what are they called, mats. Got the baby seat in the back still, all, like I said, all leather, LED blue lights. We have the 10-inch Android touchscreen, a custom GPS top plate, or whatever you want, a dash plate cover. Not sure what to call that, guys. Once again, that's custom. A lot of people ask me where I got it. I didn't get anywhere. It was custom made. Let's go ahead and turn everything on for you. And like I said, guys, all stock carbon fiber trim. Have a carbon fiber shift knob, which is not weighted. I've been through so many different shift knobs, weighted balls, cylinders, like everything, and by far this is the best setup for me. And I do have a short shifter in there, which is the old CT short shifter, which is like an extension ball off of the bottom of the shifter. So it is a very short throw. So that's first, that's second, see, that's third, that's fourth. So as you can see, it's hard. I don't shift left, so I'm doing this lefty. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. All right, so that's that. You got the Android touchscreen. Once again, you got that. This is a reverse. This whole thing has an LCD display on there. I don't have it hooked up now. The battery sucked, but I got that for Christmas from a friend. It does have a front mount camera, so it's like a dash cam, you know, that people run. Dash cam, that's exactly what it is. And then over here you can see that I have my gauges. I have it wired into the passenger window off switch, so basically I can turn them on and off whenever I want. As you can see here, oil temp, I have oil pressure, I have boost, AFR, and then I have my tack, and that's that. So that's pretty much that, guys, for the interior. And then of course I have just a quick little cheap steering wheel wrap right there. Oh, and I have a Kirky racing seat with a Corbeau mount. So the Corbo bracket, or the seat bracket, obviously is from Corbo, and it fits perfectly, guys. I do have a video on the installation of this Kirky racing seat, so go back in our videos and I show you exactly how I set up my Kirky racing seat. All right, guys, we are at the motor now. I know there's probably some shit I'm missing. Oh, coilovers, suspension. So I have stock LCAs, lower control arms, but they are polyfilled. So basically all of my bushings I went ahead and polyfilled. And once again, guys, I have a video, check below, check in our video history. It should say like DIY polyfill bushings or something like that. But once again, guys, I show you guys how to polyfill any rubber bushing that you have. Very affordable, and it does tighten up the car. So this car actually handles extremely well, even being front wheel drive. But like I said, stock suspension for the most part. The LCA, the lower control arm bushings, the compliance bushings are they are polyfilled, and then so are the other bushings on the lower control arm. Outside of that, everything else is stock. I do have adjustable camber kit in the rear. Forgot what brand they are, but that's basically it for there. Moving forward to the coilovers, I think I'm 90% sure I have the only coilover kit from JSK in the world running these coilovers on a Honda Accord Coupe 7th gen. I'm 90% sure, guys, because I helped JSK, which their company is no longer in business. I helped them R&D these coilovers, and then literally like a year later they went they didn't go bankrupt, but whatever happened to them happened, and they are no longer around. So these are JSK coilovers, the purple ones. Like I said, I helped R&D these for our car, and they just never ended up releasing them, and then they went out of business. So that's where I'm at. I've had these on, guys, for holy shit, probably 7 or 8 years. I would say easily 60,000 miles plus. Zero issues, guys. And it makes me kind of sad because they were super affordable. At the time, I believe all their coilover kits were like $600, and I ended up getting it much cheaper than that, obviously, because I was helping them R&D. But like I said, it's a shame that they're no longer here, because I've had zero issues with these coilovers. And a little trick, guys, I've been asked this question too in regards to suspension. I know they have Accord coilover kits, but what I prefer to do, and it gives you a stiffer spring rate, is I go with the TL or the TSX coilover kits for the Accords, because they have a stiffer spring rate. Yeah, it's obviously going to be stiffer, it's going to be a harder ride, but overall it keeps your car planted more. So it's really going to be your personal preference what you want to do in regards to how your suspension feels. For me, I prefer the more planted, stiffer TL or TSX coilover kits. And then what I also do, I max out the stiffness on the rear. So I set the height, and then I, with the adjuster knobs, I max out the rear. And what that does, it helps prevent squat whenever you're under hard acceleration, because whenever the car loads, it loads on the rear. Obviously it lifts the front, and you take all the weight off of the front, which was loaded. There's also something called rake, like you're raking something on the ground. And what I do, I add front rake, a slight amount of front rake, obviously to the front. And what that does, it helps load more weight onto the front axles, so you can get better traction. But there's a fine line, because you put too much rake, one, the car's going to look like freaking retarded. Two, it's not going to handle as well, because you're going to have all that weight on the front, and then the rear isn't going to have any, and it's going to make you it's going to make the car want to snap oversteer way more than it usually would. So I'm definitely biased on the car's definitely oversteer biased, but I like it. It's not to the point of a snap oversteer, it's just slightly oversteer. All right, so we are done with the coilovers. Moving forward, like I said, guys, I have a VIS carbon fiber hood. You can see it's vented there. Super light. I think it was like 15 to 20 pounds weight reduction, but that's that. Let's go into cooling. This is, once again, it's an eBay radiator, guys. Never had any issues with it. It's thicker. I'm not sure how many core it is, but it's way thicker than the stock radiator, and almost to the point at one point it was cooling too much. Like, my car wasn't coming up to temp at times, but that's usually when it's much colder out, guys. But, and keep in mind, I live in Florida, so I want as much cooling as I can possibly get, and as long as I let the car warm up during really cold times or seasons, which is very rare in Florida, I don't have any issues with this thing. I love it, and I'll still run it. I was able to run the stock fan shrouds with it, so stock fans, stock everything. All I did was change out the radiator and attach the stock fans to it. This is just a cooling or a thermal tape that I put on the radiator hoses, and that might have been another reason why the temps take a much longer to come up to temp, obviously, or operating temperature. So that's basically that for the cooling system. But one thing I did want to add, Honda, their only not recommendation, the only thing they say that you must have to qualify for Honda coolant to run in your car is silicate free. So the coolant needs to be silicate free, and from what I found, Peak, the blue bottle with the red cap, the Peak coolant, I always get full strength and then I mix it down, but the Peak coolant is silicate free, and that is the only requirement that Honda says for their Honda fluid, for their coolant. So that's what I use, guys. Some other guys have found other silicate free coolants, and as long as it meets that requirement where it's silicate free, you can run it. All right, now for the progression of the car itself, motor-wise and power-wise. I bought this car back in 2008 with around, I think, 18,000 miles. So the damn thing was basically brand new. It was 2 years old, 18,000 miles, fresh. I had the J30 in there for the longest time. For about a year, I didn't do anything with it. And then I started doing the very first mod I did. I went to AutoZone and I bought one of the short ram intakes. So keep in mind, guys, this was in freaking 2008, late 2008, early 2009. Didn't know much shit about anything at that point in regards to cars. So fast forward 11 years later, and this is where I'm at. But anyways, went to AutoZone, got one of those do-it-yourself short ram intake, put it on, made the car sound way fucking more aggressive. Probably didn't do shit for power, but hey, I liked it, and that's all that matters. And the same goes for you guys. We've gotten a lot of hate since we've come on. We've ruffled a lot of feathers, and I just want to say, guys, do what makes you happy. You know, as long as you guys are happy with the way your car is. If you want to run a fucking donk with 30-inch rims, run it, dude. Don't give a shit about what other people say. And I gotta say, that is one fault that I do have. I don't let people fucking walk all over me. So whenever somebody speaks up or starts making false accusations that are 100% clearly false and not correct at all, I'm gonna speak up and I'm gonna step up and say something. And the same goes for whenever other people are hating on other people. I don't like this shit. I don't see why people have to put their 2 cents in on every little thing and make fun of people. If you think it's a dumb question, don't say anything. But that's also gotten me into trouble on some other forums on Facebook. But the moral of the story, guys, if you're happy with it, do what you want. It's your car. It's whatever you want it to be, not what somebody else wants it to be, okay? So after my short ram intake, I can't even remember what I did. I think I did throttle body spacer. I did thermal gaskets. I did some other shit. And then I started getting heavy into the V6P.net, V6performance.net. After that, guys, I went... I know for a fact I was the first person to do J37 heads on a J30. Did not work. And I learned the hard way. So the issue with the J37 heads on a J30 is the combustion chamber diameter. A J37 is 90 millimeters, where a J30 is 86. So basically what it did, it created a mushroom shape. If I can't do it with one hand, but think of a mushroom, and the small stem part of the mushroom was the cylinder. The big dome part of the mushroom head was the head combustion chamber dome. So what that does, guys, when the combustion goes out, you got to think, when that wave is coming through the combustion, it's hitting basically the wall of the block, so it's hitting the block deck surface. Was not good, guys. I didn't gain any power, and honestly I think it hurt, because the same time I did the J37 heads, I also did RL cams, I did PCDs and a retune, and I picked up like 1 horsepower. So it was not a good mod whatsoever, and I learned the hard way, and it took me a while to figure out why that happened. But once again, guys, sorry, I'm probably gonna get a lot of light, but once again, guys, it was me doing trial and error, figuring out what worked and what didn't, because till this day, guys, I still do that. I test all of our parts. I never blindly make a part and then offer it for sale on our store. That is not what I do. And if you look at our reviews on our online store, you'll see that, I mean, all of our reviews, I don't think we even have 1 4-star review. It's all 5-star reviews, guys, and that comes from R&D, testing and developing, guys, our parts 100%. Never offering a part blindly. We always test it, and we always make sure it works and gains power. So anyways, moving forward, that was that. Did the cams, J-pipe, all that shit. I think I did lightweight pulley. I went a little further. I took those 3.7 heads off. I poured it in polish, which would be technically like our stage 2 head port and polish right now. That's what I did to the J30 head. So it was like intake ports, slightly decked, polished combustion chamber. Still had the, no, I actually kept the J30A5 cams in there, and the J30 heads, which were stage 2. And then ultimately, guys, I went full bolt on, and the car NA with that J30 in its prime made 275, 232. That was the most that J30 ever made NA. So 275, 232. Still had stock clutch, still had stock heavy dual mass flywheel. So if I would have went lightweight flywheel, the car easily would have been 280, 285 plus. And then on top of that, I could have went to a 3-inch single or a 3.5-inch single, where I was a 2.5 all the way out, or 2.5 split to a dual 2.5. And a 3-inch over a 2.5, it's been shown, guys, that a 3-inch picks up power, period. Especially if you go single. If you go single 3-inch or 3.5 all the way out, compared to a 2.5, you're going to pick up, I would say, 6 to about 12 wheel horsepower. It depends on displacement and what motor you're running, you know, other mods and shit. But you're easily going to see, you know, 6 to 12 more wheel horsepower just going from a 2.5 to a 3-inch. But the reason I didn't do that, guys, is because it's a daily driver, and that shit is loud. A 3-inch, especially a single 3-inch all the way out, is loud as shit. So, like I said, that was the progressions of the J30. At the end, naturally aspirated, the car made 275, 232 naturally aspirated. What I went from there, guys, this is when I start stepping shit up. I then strapped a nitrous kit onto the car. So started out small with tuning the jets properly for it, and I started out with a 75 shot. Actually, I think I went 55 shot, which I loved, and then literally a couple weeks after that, I progressed up to a 75 shot. And then after that, I went to a 100 shot, and the car on 100 shot of nitrous made 350, 345. Believe that's like a 80, 90 something horsepower increase to the wheels. But it ended up being like 125, 130 wheel torque increase. So for whatever reason, the car picked up a shitload more torque off of a 100 shot, and it gained just about what you would expect off of a 100 shot of nitrous. It gained right around 85, 90. So the car made 350, 340 on 100 shot of nitrous, and I ran it like that, guys, for 100,000 miles. No lie, guys, I ran the car NA for 100,000 miles on nitrous. Ended up going through, I believe, like 25 to 30 nitrous bottles, the 10-pound bottles. So the 10-pound bottles are about that big. I went through about 25 to 30 of those. Never had any issues, guys. And later on in that motor's life, I started testing our camshafts. So once again, guys, people will say, you know, that our cams are copies or whatever. It's obviously 100% false, and they're just fucking hating. You can go back in my YouTube videos and also back in my Instagram, and you can see the progression of whenever I stated we were R&Ding cams until the point I released them. And it was roughly about 3 years of R&D and specking out different cams till the point that we got our HalferLand Stage 2. And that is why I hands down will say that our Stage 2 cams are the best drop-in J-Series cams on the market, period. And a lot of people, they get butthurt when I say that, but it's true. There's other companies that just recently offered cams, and they take a clear shot at us in their listing or in their description, stealing a lot of our verbiage off of our site and putting it into theirs, but then taking some cheap shots. It's obvious that they're pointed towards us. They don't name us directly, but it's pretty obvious if you flip back and forth between the two listings. But anyways, guys, we spent 3 years R&Ding ours. We have proven dynos on the cams, and if you go look for any other J-Series performance company that offers cams, you're not going to see a dyno. They just say it should pick up power, where we 100% prove and show you what it made on our specific setup. So diving into the cams, guys, it was moving forward, actually, that J30, we were testing cams, went a little too big on the lift and ended up dropping a valve, bent a valve, broke the piston, so that J30 was done. So what I did in a rush, because it is a daily driver, I went ahead and I sourced a junkyard J32, threw that bitch in here, swapped our heads, swapped our cans over, and ended up dynoing, and that J32 on our Stage 2 cams made 316 wheel horsepower and 262 wheel torque. So 316, 262. And something that I always stress is that we were on a turbo tune, guys, because this setup that you see here, I was developing and testing, or not testing, I was developing at that point, and it was 100% ready to go. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to get obviously a dyno of our cams to show what the final result was. And on a 3.2 liter, it was 316, 262. And keep in mind, guys, a lot of guys on J35s have issues getting 300 on 93 pump. So on our J32, our Stage 2 cams, it was on a turbo tune, so we had more fuel, less timing. We had negative 2-step coulter spark plugs, and still the 2.5-inch exhaust out. So any small change, say we just went to stock heat spark plugs, that's easily 5 to 10 wheel horsepower back right there, because the negative 2-step coulter plugs are obviously a colder plug. You put a hotter plug in there, you're going to pull more power out of the car. So I easily estimate that car was a 325 wheel horsepower J32 with our Stage 2 cams, just simply by swapping the spark plugs out and retuning with more ignition timing and less fuel for a naturally aspirated car. Because again, guys, the tune was set up for turbo. So that's the part where we were. Just to recap, it was J30 NA, built it up to 275, 232 naturally aspirated on the J30, was testing cams, blew that motor with too high of a lift cam, dropped in a J32, swapped all of our parts over, and dynoed our Stage 2 cams, and that J32 on a turbo tune made 316, 262. Now, something I did not touch on, guys, is our intake manifold. This is my dual throttle body intake manifold, and it was made by a gentleman named Paul Smallsher on v6p.net. If you don't know him, he is like an old wizard guru back in the day of J-Series. He was doing some of the shit that nobody else was doing. He was basically doing a lot of the new shit that we are now. He was doing way back then, and he had way more machining and tooling to do that than I do. So he ended up designing and building this dual throttle body intake manifold, and it did not come without its issues. It had a shitload of issues. A lot of people could not actually run this. I was one of the few people that could. So they had a lot of surging issues, which I know the reason for now, but nobody could figure out except for me, and that was in the tune. Not going to tell you guys the trick, but it has something to do with the volume of air coming in at idle through the throttle bodies. So I was able to figure out, because I ended up doing all my own tuning, guys. I have had the car tuned by other people, and every single time I've re-dynoed on my own tune, I've picked up power. It was so bad at one point that one of the best tuners in Florida could not figure out the idle surge issue with the dual throttle bodies. The car made 254 2 something on torque. I don't remember the torque, I remember the horsepower. It made 254 wheel horsepower, and the car would just surge up and down at idle. Eventually I went into the tune, I started tuning myself, started making adjustments, and ultimately I got the car to make 267, 222 or 225, I don't remember the torque exactly, but it was 267. So that is a what is that, 54.7? That's a 13 wheel horsepower increase over the best tuner in Florida's tune. And I'm not going to name his name. He's a good guy. He just didn't put in the effort with the car. That's the way I feel. And that's the issue with actual dyno sessions. A lot of the time the guys will go, they'll tune wide open throttle, but within that hour timeline that they have to tune whatever it is, a lot of the time they do basic daily driver modification or tuning changes to the tune, where us guys, we do a lot of 99% of our tunes are e-tunes, which are tunes done through email. So you guys will data log your car, you'll email the data log over, we'll review it, we'll make the changes, we'll email it back, and then we do that back and forth a number of times, and that is an e-tune. We also do remote tuning, where we can actually log in and tap into your computer remotely, where you go on the dyno, have your computer open, and we sit there, you do the poll, we sit there and we make adjustments, and that's called remote tuning, because you're literally controlling the computer remotely. But anyways, that's the issue with dyno tunes, is that you're strapped for time, and a lot of the time they don't take the full amount of time or effort into the daily driver parameters that you really need for a daily driver to get the best driving car, the best throttle response, the best idle, the best cranking, all that shit, guys. And that's another reason why you'll find a lot of guys on ethanol will say the car doesn't start right, because they haven't adjusted the cranking feel or anything about the car at on cranking. And that's the main thing that we do on our ethanol or E85 tunes, is that we will sit there and we'll go back and forth with you, and we rely heavily on the customer to give us feedback on how the car is starting, and we will adjust the cranking tables appropriately to make sure that E85 starts just like a gasoline tune. This is a lot of talking, guys. I hope you're getting something helpful out of it. Don't have much to record today, so I'm trying to give you guys a full rundown of the car, and I really do hope it's helpful for you guys. So anyways, Paul Smalsher made this dual throttle body intake manifold, custom 3-inch to a single 5-inch intake, and that runs down into there. So moving forward, guys, let's start on what the car is currently in its current daily driver form. All right, so it's a 06 Accord 6.6 V6 6-speed. The block is a J35 A7. Once again, J35 A7 block. Had 108,000 miles on it. I went ahead, took the block completely apart, and if you want to see pictures on that, beautiful pictures, go to our Instagram, which is HalferLand Performance, and you'll see all the build photos and everything of us building it. But anyways, J35 A7 block. What is in that block? We have our HalferLand 1000 horsepower J35 rods. We micro polished the crank. We internally balanced all of the rotating assembly, which would be pistons, rods. We micro polished the crank. We balanced the wrist pins, the piston wrist pins. We balanced the pistons, so we did all that. We balanced all the rotating assembly. We have, like I said, our 1000 horsepower rods. We have stock J35 A7 pistons with our HalferLand Tri-Coat treatment. So that Tri-Coat treatment will help with heat. Obviously, under boost, the more you compress the air, the hotter it gets. So to try to offset that, we went ahead and did our treatment, which is a ceramic coating to the dome of the piston. We did a moly side skirt finish, and then what not many people do, we did a non-stick coating to the underside of the piston. And the main reason I went with that is because the J35A7, well, the main reason I went with the J35A7 is because piston oil squirters. Now, that J35A7 is a VCM motor, meaning it cuts off the rear cylinders when not under heavy load. So essentially saving gas. And there's been a lot of tests showing that it doesn't do shit. And that's the main reason. If you guys have a VCM motor and you're not tuned, check out our online store. We do have a VCM delete kit, which will give you all the power all the time, and the VCM will not kick on. So the VCM also has been shown to cause a lot of oil consumption issues. But we're getting off topic there. So the reason why we went J35A7 was because of the piston oil squirters, and it only squirts the front cylinders. No, the rear. I'm sorry, the rear. The ones that turn off, that's the only ones they squirt. So what I did, I went ahead and I swapped those out for TL Type S. So the Type S piston oil squirters. Now I'm getting oil to the bottom of all 6 pistons. And the reason we did the non-stick coating to the bottom of all the pistons, I'm sure you can gather why we did it, but it was to make sure that the oil did not heat up and crust over and stick to the bottom of the piston, because over time it will throw off the balance of the pistons, not by much, but it does. And then the main thing that it does, the oil will crust over and it will develop like a hard film. And if you've ever looked at a piston, there's little oil ports all around the piston. And whenever I pulled these out, all those ports were clogged. And the guy that had the motor before told me that it was smoking a lot. He thought the piston rings were bad. And I come to find out all of those oil ports on the pistons were clogged. So the main reason I did that is to allow for the oil to drip off of the underside of the piston and not clog those oil ports. Alright, so as I said, the bottom end has our 1000 horsepower rods, Trico HalferLand stock J35A7 pistons. Let me see here. Oh, it has our J32, J35 block guards, and there's mixed reviews on that, guys. And the way I look at it, anything you can do to make sure those cylinders don't shift around in the open deck. So what an open deck is, if you look at the cylinders, you'll see that water passage all the way around it. It's basically it's like a floating cylinders, guys. It's an open deck, where if it's closed like a GM block, you'll see, let me show you. Alright, here's a better look. So this is what they call an open deck, guys. You can see this water passage all the way around. It does not connect to the block at all. So like I said before, the way I look at it, anything you can do to reinforce those cylinders is gonna help. Why some guys say that block guards are no good is because a lot of them do not fit snugly. Their tolerances are very, very loose, where our tolerances are very tight. So it's pretty hard to get them in, but once they're in, they're not going to come out and they're not going to drop. And that's why a lot of guys say don't go with block guards, because the tolerances are so loose on some of them on the market that they drop down, all the way down into the water passage, and sometimes they'll be uneven, not giving a very structurally sound fitment. So ours sits flush with the deck, damn near, just a hair under, and it's even all the way across. And what that does, it keeps the cylinders from shifting around under heavy load or high compression or whatnot. So 100%, guys, 100%, block guards are better than nothing. All right, so it's up to you, whatever you guys want to do with your car, but we're running them in our J35A7, and I can tell you it's much, much more stable than what an open deck would be. All right, so that's basically it for the block. We went ahead and we did the normal cleaning and oil pump. There's nothing special about the oil pump. We are running a Track Tough VTech oil filter adapter kit. which we do sell on our online store. Take a look. We also sell the fittings, which are very affordable compared to, you know, sourcing them yourselves, because they can be hard to find sometimes. So we do have the VTEC block on our store, so check it out, guys. Let's say below. All right, so moving on from the block, we'll go to the heads. These are J32A3 heads. They're stage 1.5, which is like a hybrid between our 1 and 2, stage 2 port and polish. So they're the J32A3 stage 1.5 heads. They have our HalferLand stage 2 camshafts. They have our HalferLand 10,000 RPM valve springs. So guys, like I said before, everything, we will not offer a part if it hasn't been tested, and every single part that we offer is on this car. So that just shows, and that just lends more credibility or less credibility to what some of these other people or these haters have been saying. Everything that we offer on our store, we run and we test, guys, to make sure that it's going to work 100% for you guys. So anyways, like I said, HalferLand stage 2 cams, HalferLand 10,000 RPM valve springs. The motor is running 10.8 to 1 compression, which is actually down from the J32A3 that we had before. So the J32A3 was running 11.4, 11.5 to 1 compression. So 11.5 to 1 compression, which is up there for a daily driver. This one is running 10.8 to 1 compression, which is fine. Honestly, I probably would have liked to see 11 to 1, but that is just my personal preference, how I build motors. So that is just my philosophy. I would like to see higher compression on motors, and that philosophy comes from a lot of my background in motorcycles, where those motorcycles are running, you know, 14 to 1 compression, revving out to freaking 15,000 RPM. Freaking love it, guys. But what compression does, it helps spool this big spinny boy much better. This is a 6968 journal bearing Turbonetics T4 turbo. So a lot of people told me, getting into this, speaking with other builders and stuff, they basically told me that it was going to be laggy, it wasn't going to spool. But you know, with my background in motorcycles and understanding compression and how it works in regards to spooling up a turbo, I knew it was going to work. And to back that, I also went on BorgWarner's website and I went and calculated the compressor map on their website. So I highly recommend doing that for you guys. But in general, I get this a lot, what is the best turbo sizing? And honestly, a 62 millimeter to about 68, honestly a 62 to 66 millimeter turbo will be perfect for these motors. If you don't go all crazy like we did on the motor, even on stock cams, a 62 to 66 millimeter turbo, T3 or T4 will be just fine. It should spool fully by like 4,000, 4,500 RPM, and you should start seeing boost as early as, you know, 25 to 3,000 RPM. With our motor, with the 69 millimeter, running a 3.5 at 10.8 to 1 compression, the motor starts to spool the turbo by 2,500 RPM, and we are fully in boost by 4,000. So that makes our full power band 3,500 RPM, which is fucking incredible, guys. A lot of people will say, you know, 1.5, 2,000 RPM power band peak power is perfect. We have 3,500, and we can attribute that to the compression and mapping, compressor mapping, are set up for what we wanted. So like I said, the full boost by 4,000, we shift at 7,500. So that's obviously 3,500 RPM power band. In regards to the turbo kit, I'm ready to address the turbo. It's a 6968 Turbonetics. The complete turbo kit itself is 100% custom by me. The wastegate is a knockoff tile 44 millimeter wastegate. I still have the RV6 pre-catalytes with the turbo kit basically adapted to those, up into a 2.5 collector. So it's 2-inch off of the PCDs into a 2.5 collector into the T4 turbo, or in the T4 flange turbo. It's a 44 millimeter wastegate, like I just said. 38 millimeter blow off valve. I'm not sure if you can see it in there. It's right there. 38 millimeter blow off valve. Again, guys, just a cheap little eBay fucking blow off valve. Nothing special. This is my custom little turbo block guard, or not block guard, turbo guard shield fucking filter thing, whatever you want to call it. Breather wise, guys, I do need to address this pretty soon. Being that I'm not running a lot of boost, right now it's around 8 psi of boost, which is plenty. And if you guys go back into our videos, you can look at my street car takeover video where I raced a Lambo. So in that video, I believe the car trapped 132 miles an hour, and I literally I was out on this turbo Lamborghini through second, through third, and then into fourth. I shifted slow into fourth, and he slowly pulled out on me. And guys, I swear on my life, he didn't even have me by a bumper. It was like a headlight. It was incredible. It was a great run, and I regret that I shifted slow in fourth. But the reason I bring that up is that was the J32. This is the J35. That J32 was running 8 to 9.5 pounds of boost. Okay, and with the car's weight, I did this conservatively. With the car's weight around 3,400 pounds, with the turbo, all that shit, baby seat in the back, full weight, guys, street tires, everything, 3,400 pounds is my guesstimate. That would mean the car was making 580 wheel horsepower to 610 wheel horsepower. So 3,400 pound car trapping 132 miles an hour in the quarter mile, that equates to 580 to 610 wheel horsepower. And that was on the J32. Right now, this car is running 7.5, 8 pounds of boost on the 3.5. And I can tell you right now, it's making more fucking power. So this motor is easily over 600 wheel horsepower on around 8 psi of boost. That's insane, guys. That puts our horsepower per boost ratio at about 32 horsepower per 1 psi of boost, which is just insane, guys. So a good rule of thumb for boost is around 15 horsepower per psi of boost. If your car is making 20 horsepower per 1 psi of boost, they call that great. That's a really healthy motor, healthy setup. Now when you're getting damn near 32 wheel horsepower per 1 psi of boost, what do you call that? I mean, it's just insane, guys. And that just shows how well this whole setup is. So as I was touching on before, the breather, I do need to work on this more. I do have a check valve right here, so the boost will not push back out, but the PCV will open, and this will open to vent. What I do need to do, I need to put another breather here and another breather there to vent the crankcase, but I do have just an open filter there, which does help. So that's that. I haven't seen any issues or any signs that the EGTs are too hot or that there's too much back pressure. So for now, I'm fine. But like I said, if I start pushing this motor, to 15 pounds, that's going to be the car's going to be 700 plus 750. Right now, the limiting factor for me is the transmission, guys. Oh, and I do have our EGR block off plate, by the way. So the limiting factor right now for me, guys, is the transmission. The only affordable, economical solution is the RV6 straight cut 3/4 gears, third and fourth. RV6 puts out phenomenal parts, but there's been some guys that keep breaking them, and that's not something I want to get into. And then the only other option, I believe, is a Graph dog box, but I believe that is like $6,000-$7,000, guys, and that's not something I want to spend on my daily driver. I have a race car that's being built that I'm gonna push, and I'm gonna break that thing. So on that note, guys, this car will probably never be 600 wheel horsepower plus. It'll probably never be over that 600 horsepower mark until I find a better solution for the 3/4 gear. 1 and 2 are fine. They're big gears, they're strong, but I've already broke third gear, so A couple weeks after the streetcar takeover, literally leaving streetcar takeover, I kept grinding third gear. And then like a week later, it was like a terrible clatter coming out anytime I put it in third gear. So I knew I fucked up third gear, ended up pulling it. Sure as shit, there's like 7 or 8 missing teeth off of third gear. So if you guys ever get boosting and you get to the limit or you get up there in power, just keep in mind, guys, right around the 600 wheel horsepower or the 500 wheel torque or 550 wheel torque horsepower or range, you're going to start breaking transmissions. To keep it safe, guys, I would keep the car at 500 horsepower and like 450 wheel torque. And if you have a 6-speed, it should live for a while. Automatic transmissions, they won't live as long. I would keep an auto around 400 wheel horsepower and like 300 wheel torque, and that's where I would leave an auto. So definitely the 6-speeds have more. They're obviously much stronger. But the final thing here, guys, we have our HalferLand lightweight full-size crank pulley that I'm running. Innovative motor mounts. I do have another mount on the bottom and for the trans, so it's stiffer there. But all right, so tuning wise, guys, I am running Honda, and I have a 04 TL ECU, which is converted over. And once again, guys, we have the ECUs on our online store. We also have the reprogramming hardware that you'll need to convert or rewrite your ECU to your VIN. We can also reprogram the immobilizer and the keys. So check out our online store or our website right here, and check out our different tuning options. And we tune everything too. But running a 04 TL ECU to be compatible with Honda. So swap that over. I hooked up the Honda, reprogrammed all that, and in regards to other electronics, we are running our HalferLand 4-bar map sensor. So it is compatible. It's exactly as a Honda 4-bar, except ours is around $35, where Honda's map sensor is around $100. Guys, outside of that, that is the complete car. So she is right around 600 wheel horsepower, and this is my daily driver, guys. I know it was a chatty fucking video, but I hope you guys found something in it helpful. There's going to be a lot more to come, guys. If you want me, if you have any suggestions on videos, please comment below. Let me know what you guys want to see, because I'm kind of at the point where I need to start planning my videos much more, just due to the workload that I have. So if you guys have suggestions on what you want to see, it could be anything from injector install, you know what I mean? I'm not going to show you guys exactly how to port. I'll show you some tips, but not exactly what we do. But just comment below if you guys have any suggestions. Once again, please hit that thumbs up button. Please subscribe, hit that notification